Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur from a match attending and international supporters view. How you doing, Glen?
Good, mate. I'm doing pretty good. A pretty good weekend. We'll get into it in a moment, but did not watch, which I didn't seem like I missed much with the Bayern Munich game. But importantly, on your note of international supporters view, we will get to him in just a moment. But we have Hugh, who is an American from Colorado. We've had Colorado Spurs fans on, but we haven't actually had for a while an American. But I'm good, Graeme. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad. But work's been something.
Yeah.
I would take my solace in football, but that's not really been much to talk about this week either. But yeah, I'm kind of weirdly looking forward to Wednesday's match, because I feel like even though we're short on players, we're lacking creativity. I just got this feeling that we might do something, which is odd.
We'll get into it in a minute, but yeah, I've got maybe a differing view, but we'll get into that in a moment. Before we move on, Hugh, welcome to Home and Away podcast, mate. I'm trying to think, Graeme, you might have encountered Hugh and met Hugh at Esther's once upon a time.
It's possible. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Hugh and I had this, well, it was fun for me and not maybe so fun for Hugh, but we had this fun running game where Hugh would often get manhandled by me when we scored. And then it became a thing where I'd actually seek him out when we scored just to make sure I manhandled him. Hugh and I go pretty far back. But,
it's a good luck thing.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
We go pretty far back, Hughie. But Hugh, how long back for you is it Spurs, mate? Why the hell did you pick us? Did you have a choice? Why Spurs, and how long? And then maybe talk us through any favourite memories that you have. I know you were always a fan of Victor Wanyama, because I remember you had the shirt with his name on the back.
And like all of my favorite players, he either immediately left the club or had a career-ending knee injury. So it's par for the course. So I would say the late 80s, and my coming to Spurs story, I think, is probably slightly different than most people's. So starting in university, late 80s, one of the guys that was on the same track at me had spent a semester abroad in London, and he came back and was a huge Arsenal fan, and he was just an ass. So he just completely rubbed me the wrong way forever. And so that was how I don't care what the team is like, what its culture is like. Whoever hates those guys the most is the team for me. And so that is how I ended up a Spurs fan, is by hate. So I think I came to it honestly. But back then you couldn't follow the league really unless you were a subscriber to the Times or something like that. So I kind of came back to it probably in the early 2000s, which is about when we met, actually. I just kind of fell back into it and then found where the bars were that other pasty-faced hooligans like me would hang out, and I found playing Cowie.
It's funny you mention about how hard it was to follow football. But I remember in '96, I was in Los Angeles because my ex-wife booked a holiday during the Euros, which were in London, so that I was not great. There's a reason. Anyway, I was going to say something, I won't.
How inconsiderate.
So anyway, I remember having to wait for 2-day-old newspapers to find out what the scores were, because the English newspapers would turn up I guess they'd stick them on a plane and they'd come over a day late or something. So for the Scotland game, which I think was about the second or third game, second game,
yeah, because our last game was Holland, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I had my brother-in-law put the phone next to the television. It was a very expensive call, but yeah, it was. And then for the semi-final,
Germany, yeah, semi-final.
Yeah,
Germany, yeah.
I was in Carmel, so we'd just been walking along the beach, walked up to a bar to get a drink. I looked down the back end of the bar, and there's a projected screen, just in time to see Shearer score against Germany.
It scored early,
they were about to turn it over for the baseball or some other godforsaken American sport. We managed to get them to put a TV up for us, and we watched the whole game all the way through to the end. So that was cool, but it was a real rarity.
Yeah.
It was like football didn't really exist. You wouldn't have known it's the third biggest sporting event in the world, and it was going on at that time. You just wouldn't have known. It was amazing.
No idea. No way to watch it. No way to follow it. Yep.
Well, we had a trying to think if we had a few Spurs players in that squad. Darren Anderton, certainly.
Yes, Sheringham.
Sheringham, of course, he participated. Nick Barmby was on the bench, yeah. But pivoting to maybe more current times, Hugh, or maybe not more current times, but kind of a favourite memory for you, mate, other than sticking one to your friend who was, or not, maybe not so much of a friend, an Arsenal fan.
Friend, you know.
Your nemesis.
Nemesis. Any memories for you that jump out that you're like, oh, yeah, that amazing, like, because obviously we didn't win anything, but you and we watched a lot of games together in that kind of Pochettino, or even going further back than that, Redknapp. But any memories that jump out to you? Is it that era or an era before that you kind of yearn towards?
I think that era, honestly, because that's when we were actually able to watch every match if you wanted to. So that makes it much easier to follow the club. So my favorite memories, other than, of course, the end of last season, would be the match against Arsenal when we came back to tie at the very end of the match, like 4-4. I'm trying to remember that was, but that was just David Bentley with the magic kick from almost halfway, caught him out of the goal, and that kicked the whole thing off. That was just beautiful.
Well, that was Redknapp's second game. Because Bolton was his first, and then it was quite early in the Redknapp period, wasn't it?
So he'd played 8 games before he took over, right? First the infamous 2 points from 8 games.
Yes, something burned into the psyche of everybody that watched any Harry Redknapp interview for the first month. How many points from 8 games? How many?
Yeah. Nah, good stuff. So,
and then every time you kissed me, those. Were
indeed. That's definitely a memory worth holding on to. It's a shame that it's been so long. Well, it was funny, Graeme. So, as I'm sure what happened to you, but when Spurs won the Europa League, it was just this reminder of me that I have all of these Spurs friends around the world, one of them being Hugh, and we caught up for about half an hour the next day over a phone call, and I was like, why does it take Tottenham to win something for us to actually catch up and have a good chat?
Because otherwise you might not speak to him again in this lifetime.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Hugh, because I think it's fair to say I was back last September and I did pop into Esther's and watch the Man United game, but where do you watch games now? 'Cause it's become easier in America, right? Because it's more mainstream than it ever once was. But would it be fair to say that a lot of fans like yourself and others that have supported Spurs a long time don't love the commercialisation and prefer that it was a smaller cohort that would meet? Because when I went, it was pretty pumping, and that's great, but then it probably, no disrespect to any fans, anyone's welcome to support Spurs, of course, but that comes with a little bit of a different feel to what we have when we meet at the grubby British Bulldog and there'd be 6 of us watching us lose, most likely. Do you still go to the pub, or do you watch at home, or what do you do for viewing, mate?
So the majority of the time I watch it at home, just because I'm about at least 45-minute drive from either from Esther's or going up to the Northern Colorado Spurs group.
Yeah.
So I watched the Europa League final up in Greeley with the Northern Colorado guys, but that was probably the first time I'd actually gone to a match to go to a place to go and watch the match with a group of other fans.
Yeah.
Probably that the entire season, I think. And it's, part of that, I think, is, just, as you said, right, the dynamic of the group changed dramatically when the success of the Pochettino era started happening. Yeah. And so there was a wonderful, massive uptick in the amount of people that actually cared how the team was doing. And on the one hand, that was absolutely wonderful. But on the other hand, it's, all right, now there's 70 people packed into this room that could seat 40 people, and finding the people that I want to hang out with and watch the game with it's almost impossible in that circumstance. Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I kind of stopped leaving my home to go and do that stuff, just because the group dynamic was so completely different.
Well, you're not alone in that view in many regards. We've got the second game of the season is a 9:30 p.m. kickoff for us, which is 5:30 a.m. in Denver. But I was throwing around an idea with some mates, and they were like, "Oh, should we go to the pub, go into the city?" And I'm like, "I'm old, I can't be bothered. I'll just have you over." It's easier. Just come over. Like,
Yep.
we can order some pizzas. Like, yeah, way more enjoyable. I don't have to wrestle for a spot to watch the game. I can have my spot on the couch with my feet up. I much prefer that. But yeah. So pivoting Graham to the Bayern match. So Graham, I did not watch the Bayern match. It was an awful time, 02:30. Woke up in the morning, saw that we got pumped. But you did watch the Bayern match, and you wishing you probably didn't.
I did watch it. Within 15 minutes, we were 1-0 down, and Kane had also missed a penalty. And by half-time, it was 2-0, and it could have been 5 or 6. We were just completely overwhelmed. They are just much better than us in all departments. They're dangerous going forwards. Which, weirdly, they sold Coman, didn't they, today, I think. He's gone to Saudi, yeah, which is a bit of a surprise, really, because he's not that... I don't think he's that old, is he?
28.
Yeah, I mean, that's... So anyway, so yeah, they were very, very good. And even in the second half, when they brought all their youngsters on, they still scored us. They scored 2 more goals.
Yeah.
Their second string was significantly better than our first string. And then we brought our second string on, and it got even worse.
Yeah.
It was awful. Vicario made some good saves, which kept the scoreline down to only 4. I think it was quite a sobering awakening for everybody after, you know, the other matches that we'd had. We hadn't lost a game up until that in pre-season. We'd had a couple of draws and some wins, and we'd looked all right. I just think that the Madison injury left us with nothing at all creative, and having Palhinha is good because it gives you something a bit more rock solid in front of the defenders, but it means there's even less creativity on the pitch. I think Bergvall played as a 10 when we started. Yeah. Well, it's taken him a while to play that.
We'll talk about transfers in a minute, but one comment I had on that, I've heard a rumour that he might be looking at playing Kudus in the 10 if we can secure the signing of Savinho. So maybe that's an option. The one thing I'll say for the Bayern...
Savinho can't play this in the Super Cup because the squad's already been submitted.
And age doesn't come into that, right? Because he's over 21, over 18.
No, he's not in the squad that's been submitted for that game.
Yeah. Okay.
So he can't.
Ironically, if we get it done, could end up being away to Man City.
Yeah, because if we don't get it done for Burnley, that'll be yeah.
But we'll come on to that in a moment. But Hugh, did you watch the Bayern game, or did you avoid it like the plague, like I did?
I avoided it, and I guess my question, Graham, since you did watch it, is how much of that abject failure is a talent gap, or how much of it is a new team under a new system, so a not knowing your roles and responsibilities gap, and how much of it is, laziness, travel fatigue?
Say probably I think that, again, I think it's been a ridiculous pre-season. It's been more like one of those escape things where they have to get across the world.
Like bloody modern for our listeners.
Yeah, it's it's just been stupid. And also not a single home match.
Yeah.
In pre-season as well, which I think is a bold choice.
But the home match, and this will play into the lapse of Levy haters, but the home match is as much to do with the commercialisation of the stadium, right? There probably was...
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's because there's been no slots to play a match because we've been filled it with concerts all summer.
Yeah. I mean, to Hugh's question then, Graham, from what you saw, do you see a huge...
Yeah, sorry, I kind of digressed a little bit, but I think there's definitely one or two players who are still getting used to each other and getting used to the way that Frank wants to play. And there was players playing out of position. I think we started with Brennan Johnson on the left. That's not a thing. That should never be a thing. Kudus looks bright when we can get him the ball, but Richarlison wasn't effective. What else? Yeah, I don't think Bergvall is a 10 or certainly isn't playing particularly well in that position. The defence looked poor. I've always been really impressed with Spence playing on the left-hand side. I think he's played better for us there than he has on the right. But he was poor. I mean, Koeman had him on toast. It was almost like Kudus against Miles Skelly, is it? The Arsenal fullback? It reminded me a bit of that. He was given a real lesson. And we played a pretty strong defence, really. Mm-hmm. When you think we had effectively apart from Udogie, it was three of our regular back four and Jed Spence on the left, and then Pellegrini in front of them. I mean, we couldn't set up more defensively really without everyone playing in defence. It should have been pretty solid, but they just got through us at will. Really, wasn't great.
So pivoting back to Hugh on that, you asked the question, Hugh, on a talent gap or getting used to a new system / manager. I mean, do you have concerns, Hugh, going into the Super Cup and then just broadly the first few weeks of the season with what we have available or not available to us? And this is obviously pending any signings, which we'll get into in a minute, but do you have concerns about
we only know what we know.
The approaching season?
I think that everyone should have some concerns about the approaching season, right? It's, we're back in the new manager, new system, new players, rebuild the squad kind of treadmill that we've been on for the past 8 years. And while I have hope that Frank will be given the time to develop the young talent that I think we all believe that we have a a lot of young players, but they're still young players. I would suggest that my expectations for the season aren't terribly high. Like, my objectives for the season would be, let's get out of the group stage in the Champions League. I think that would be a real accomplishment with the squad the way that it is today. And, make a cup run and then finish in the top half. That's coming off of winning the first trophy in so long, that's not the follow-up season that I would have wanted, but I think it's a follow-up season that we're going to have. There's just too many of the key players today are either out injured and will be injured for the majority of the season, or they're just coming back from injury. And putting that on top of a new manager, I don't think it's a recipe for we're not going to get out of the gates quickly, I don't think. So I
think we covered this before as well, Hugh, that Frank has got form for slow starts with other teams, with Brentford as well. I think they didn't win a game in his first 10 matches. Yeah. So my worry is that maybe we're not quite as patient as the Brentford fans were, and the board as well. That 10 matches would be more time than we gave Nuno, right?
Correct. Well, and just pivot into the Super Cup. Like, in terms of the team he picks with what's available to him, I think he'd go VDV at left back. I really do. Unless he goes 5 at the back and plays true wing backs with Spence on the left and Porro on the right. But I think he'd go something like Porro, Romero, Danso, Van der Ven as the left back. And then Polini, Sarr, Kudos, Bergveld, Tell, and then probably Richarlison up top is what I think happens. I don't know. Like, I know it was...
Weirdly, he's taken Solanke and Udogie.
Was everyone injured, aren't they?
You would think that
he said fitness issue with Solanke. It doesn't say actual injury.
They both. Solanke hasn't played since, was it the Reading game he got injured in?
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but the fact that they've taken them both to Italy says to me they must be close to a return. Otherwise, you'd leave them in London to prepare for Burnley, right? You wouldn't take them unless there was a chance they might play. I mean, the weirdest thing for me out of all of this and looking at the squad is, I don't know how many players we could have taken, but we've got a squad of 22. Is how quickly we've let all of our younger players go out on loan when we've clearly got injury issues, and there's no reason that they couldn't have sent them out on loan like at the end of August. Wouldn't have been an issue for us. I mean, maybe other teams wanted them sooner than that, but that's not our problem, is it? I feel like we've left ourselves short to help other teas a little bit. So, for instance,
so Min,
I would have
Donnelly. I mean, they're the only ones from me.
For me, Donnelly got a great assist in the 98th minute after he came on as a sub. I mean, he could have played in the 10, couldn't he?
Yeah.
At least he's played that role. I feel like that would have been better than Bergvall.
And then Mikey
this particular instance.
Rangers, yeah.
And he hasn't played yet because he turned 18 today.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been able to sign for Rangers officially until today, which is why he hasn't been registered for the league or for the Champions League qualifiers.
Well, pivoting back to the Super Cup, I mean, as I mentioned, I have a different view to you, Graeme, in that after seeing that Bayern result, I have genuine fears that we get absolutely pumped. I think PSG, what happened in the Club World Cup, I mean, or the Trump World Cup maybe, the Trump Club World Cup where he wanted to get in on the act. But we can call it what it is, but obviously Chelsea turned them over. But I watched that Champions League final and I was like, bloody hell. And I was watching that knowing that we were going to be playing them in a few months' time from that game, and I was like, if this is what they're doing to Inter.
But if I can offer any kind of enthusiasm for this match, anything to get you off the floor, Glenn, it's two things. One is that Neves is suspended because he got a red card for pulling Cucurella's hair in the Club World Cup final. So that's bonus. But also, that was only 2 weeks ago, and they have played football consistently since the end of last season. Lots of football, and they've been travelling. So my only hope is that their travelling's been worse on them than ours has, and we've been back and training for longer than they have. So maybe that plays into our hands, or maybe they're still match fit because they've been playing football solidly, and maybe they'll only crumble later in the season when it catches up with them, and actually they're still in good form at the moment, and they really tear us apart.
Well, there's obviously something going on with Donnarumma. He's not in the squad. He's not.
Yeah, he's off. I don't know why. I don't know what. Is he up for a contract renewal and then they don't want to pay the money he wants or something?
No idea, but he's only 26. I always thought he was older than that. He seems to have been around.
It was about 4 when he started playing, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Hugh, what do you reckon, mate? Do you think there's any hope against PSG?
I think that the hope is what keeps pulling you back into this club, man. So, yes, of course there's hope.
Always hope.
And I would say that, and I wouldn't have said this before last season, but we do actually have some experience in winning 1-0 games when it matters. And, this game, personally, I don't know how much. I don't have a lot of hunger to win this match as opposed to a match in the Premier League. I think that winning league games is more important to me than winning this Super Cup. But it's a chance to, again, show what we can do. We're the only show on the day, and it's a big show. And, if we get the right mindset and have, some
trophy,
fortitude,
right?
we can grind it out. Yep.
I know that we're relatively newcomers to this concept of trophies, but I'm quite happy to stick some more silverware in the cupboard. No problem at all.
For sure.
It is a trophy. It's the charity shield of Europe, as I'm going to call it, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take it though. I'm not proud. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be what it'll be.
Well, what's everybody's viewing experience is going to be of that? I'll be in Sydney for work. I leave for Sydney tomorrow, so it's a 5 a.m. kickoff for me. So I'll take the iPad with me and stream it to hopefully my hotel room television. But I'll no doubt be watching it live. But Graeme, you could just be watching at home, mate, or what's your plan?
Yeah, just at home. I'm just at home on my own this time.
No Josh and Thomas?
No, Thomas, it's a long way to come down for an evening match for him. And again, Josh will be... I don't think he'll even watch, I don't think. But maybe it's on the... I don't know what... Is it on... I don't even know what channel it's on in the UK.
I'm sure it'll be on TNT Sports, because they have...
So then there's... But then sometimes some on YouTube as well, right?
Oh, is it?
Some of the European matches.
Well,
the Champions League final was.
There's been a bit of a shake-up in Australia on coverage in the all European football, like UEFA Cup competitions, are always on a platform called Stan here, and they remain, but now they've picked up the rights to the Premier League. So the Premier League's now moving away from Optus Sport and going to Stan after 9 or 10 years with Optus. So interesting shake-up there. But Hughie, what are you doing, mate? Are you, as I say, it'll be right in your work day, won't it?
Yep. So I will try and mute everything and then watch it at X after I get done with work and either be very happy when I go to bed or break into my Scotch collection.
But there's always that. You can do that. You can do that if we lose or win. No, I mean it's a competitive game. It's gonna be a real early marker, right? We don't usually get these types of opportunities because you'll learn quite a bit about Frank as well. Like if he can set us up in a way or tweak things in a way where we can nick a 1-0, then he's got a bit about him, We all think he's a good manager.
I would take some positivity from the Arsenal game in that we did that, right? We got ourselves ahead, and then I thought the second half we defended really resolutely. We were good. Defensively, we looked solid. So if we can pull that out, and similarly, we can nick a goal and then just keep them out, maybe they'll be a bit more dangerous on the attack than Arsenal would. But hey, stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah, no, indeed. Well,
And also, I guess, sorry, Glenn, the one thing you can say about our pre-season is we have not picked easy games, right? So apart from the first three, which were like fitness matches, so Reading, Wickham, and who was the other one? Luton. All of the games we played away out the country have been hard games, right? We've had Arsenal, Newcastle, top four teams last season, Bayern Munich, and then we'll play PSG in the Super Cup, and then we've got Burnley, one of the promoted sides. It's their first league game at home. So you would hope that if we're benchmarking ourselves against the teams we're going to be playing in the Champions League, as opposed to the team that we're going to be playing who's come up out of the Championship, we should, and assuming we've got fit players and we've got square players to go in square holes, then by the start of the season, maybe we get a couple more in between now and the Burnley match, and all of a sudden everything looks very different. But this is going to be a really pivotal week, I think, for the season. Although, yes, we can sign players up till the end of August, I always feel the later they come in, the harder it is to fit them in quickly, because you don't get the time. Once we start playing 2 games a week, you don't get that much time to train patterns of play, and this is what the pre-season for, is to get all that kind of stuff drilled into the players. I'm worried that bringing all the players in, I know it's a Levy special, right? He loves to bring them at the end of the summer because he hasn't paid their salary through the summer then. Sure, that's the only reason he does it.
Well, and pivot into transfer news. Before we do that, quick predictions around the houses on the PSG game. I think we'll lose 3 or 4-1. I've got a feeling this is not going to go well. But Graeme, got a prediction?
1-0 Tottenham win.
1-0 Hughie. Any quick fire prediction?
3-1 PSG.
There you go. All right. Pivot into transfer news.
But I have hope, Graeme. I have hope.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, transfer news. The one that's surprised me in the context of the player, I'm really surprised he's only been there a year, is the Savinho one, which I'm now reading. Our connection with him is now opening the door for City to be looking at Rodrigo from Real Madrid, which seems weird to me because Savinho's leaving because on its face he's not going to get enough minutes because they've got Cherky and they've got Doku and then obviously got Foden who can operate there. But that would seem weird to me that Rodrigo would go there off the back of Savinho leaving. But anyway, so that's one that came out of nowhere. I'd take him. I'm excited by it. I think he's a type of player that can change a game. And then we've got...
Isn't he more naturally a right-sided player, though?
He is. And that's where Kudus and Kulusevski operate. But then you could argue Kulusevski with Madison out, once he comes back, could play in the number 10. And then I read something on The Athletic that Kudus could be used as a number 10.
But doesn't he want to... Isn't the reason he fell out with West Ham is because they played him out of his preferred position on the right?
Quite possibly, but then...
I just feel... This feels like we're stacking up areas of the pitch where we've got plenty of cover. We seem to be getting more players. And areas where we've got nobody at the moment, we don't seem to be prioritising. It feels weird.
Unless Odegaard or something is going to be loaned or sold. But then also, we all knew getting Frank, he is one of those managers that work with what he's got and he'll find a way. Like he will. Like he's...
But only playing down one side of the pitch.
But well, like I said, he could be looking at something a bit spicy, like putting Kudus in the number 10 for the time being, or something like I don't know. But there's obviously a reason for it.
That maybe that gets you through 1 or 2 games, right?
Sure.
We need, as I said before, like square pegs, square holes.
The reason I like the Savinho deal is because it sounds like Frank actually wants him. He's calling him his ideal player. So It doesn't seem like it's something that Frank doesn't want to happen.
Do you know there's another rumour doing, and it's not in my list, there's another rumour doing around this evening that Morgan Gibbs-White still wants out of Forest, and that there's a new price to get him out of his contract, and it's more than before, but it's still not. I don't think it would put a lot of people off. Weird, yeah. I still think he was pressured into signing.
Sure, I guaranteed he was. There was.
Yeah,
Hugh, do you have a view on who we've been linked with?
Eze, again, still floating around. Seems that Arsenal's interest has cooled a bit on him.
So I don't think I'd say no to either of them. I don't know that either of them are what we need, but I don't know how, as a matter of long-term success, panicking and buying a number 10 just because Maddison is injured if that number 10 is not going to be good enough going forward. If it's not a long-term investment, if it's just someone to come in who is better than nobody at the 10, then is that the wisest way to spend our money?
Well, if it was a short-term thing, I would have got Grealish and played him as a 10.
Yeah.
On loan for a
Get
season.
him alone and absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whereas Eze, I think Eze's a better player than Maddison. There, I've said it. And I don't know whether that 10 is his best position. He tends to play in the wider areas as well. He's quite versatile, I think.
Well, if you watch back... Sorry, Hugh, go ahead, mate. You go first.
No, I was just going to say in theory, that having an entire team of very flexible players who could all play any position across the front that sounds like a good thing until they're mediocre at everything instead of good at anything.
Yeah.
And, to make the next step, you have to be good at something.
I really like Eze. I think he's a really what we need is someone who can unlock teams. We can go out and play against teams that in the top 6. Whether or not we win or not, we'll get a chance to play because they will give us chances because they will play to win, not to sit and defend. It's the other half of the games in the season where we really struggle to break teams down. We need someone who can unlock those teams, and Maddison can do that when he plays at his best. We've had this conversation many times on this podcast, and Thomas will also be shouting at his headphones when he listens to this. Maddison doesn't do that often enough for me, and never has done that. He will have a handful of 9 out of 10 performances a season, and he will dine out on those, and he will drop a bunch of 4 or 5 out of 10s. And so if Eze comes in and gives us a 7 or 8 every week, for me that's more important to the overall function of the team than the 9s that we get out of Maddison.
Well, we talk about Eze and his best position and where is he a winger, does he operate centrally, number 10. If you look back, the goal he scored in the FA Cup final, I mean, that's another string to his bow in that he can arrive late. It's where a Solanke can hold up the ball really well and then that they pour onto you. That's exactly how Palace scored their goal, right? Now, Frank can play similar with what he's got available to him at Spurs. So maybe he could be an ideal target. Now, if we got both Savinho and Eze, I think that would be a very, very good window, adding to what we've already got. And then it all depends on what's out the door. What I can see happening with this transfer window is a bit of a mass exodus towards the end of the window, because there's so much we've got to get rid of still, right? There are players that, for me... That's
a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every other team in the top half of the table seems to be able to offload players. Yeah. But is it because we've got mediocre players and they're overvalued by the club?
There's always that. I mean, in terms of, but also on that note, history tells us we seem to have an ability to get money for these mediocre players, like people dealing with Levy or how that works. But there is always that. I mean, it does seem to be moving slowly. And on that, Hugh, like if we didn't get Savinho or didn't get Eze and then ended up with a McAtee who looks like he's going to Forest,
he's going to Forest, yeah,
or a Harvey Elliott. I mean, where does your optimism and hope sit on the window as it is, and if we only added a Harvey Elliott? I mean, would you be massively concerned going into the season?
Well, I'm concerned anyway going into the season for the reasons we previously talked about. But it's a process, and it takes time to build a team and find the right players in the right roles at the right ages that don't get injured. And I think that the business that we've done this window, the people that we've brought in, the deals that we made permanent, all of those things it's been good business to this point. From a fan's point of view, do I want more? Absolutely, I want more. And that's one of the things that's always, like, from the most frustrating of being a fan and being on the outside looking in, is you don't see anything happening. And is nothing happening because there's no deals to be made, or is something happening behind the scenes that we just don't know, or...
It's that story about Langer always does his business on the quiet. That's easy. That's an easy thing to hide behind up until the last day of the season, right?
And then you're like, oh, okay, I guess we did. There was nothing going on, actually.
Yeah. The reason he was quiet was because he was just quiet.
Well, but Savinho is an example of that. Like, no one had even thought, that hadn't even been mooted in any media or anywhere, and then all of a sudden, bang, we're in for him. So You know?
Is it? I find it a bit weird, right? So they keep telling us that they're doing this data-driven approach, and I don't see any evidence of that whatsoever. It still feels opportunistic. Like they find out someone's available and try and negotiate. Is it as I think he's a good player, and I absolutely would love him to come to Tottenham. Absolutely would, but he's not the priority positions that we need to fill in the squad. So where are those players? What's the data telling us? Because what the data is telling me at the moment is we don't have anyone. I just don't understand it. I feel like it feels even. Did you see the Thomas Frank interview where he talked about the recruitment process comparing Brentford to Tottenham?
Yeah.
It was a bit damning, really. I thought it was like a well-oiled machine at Brentford, and here I have to spend hours and hours trying to explain to people what I want, and that's like it's like he's suddenly in the remedial class, and he's having to deal with all the window lickers from the back of the short bus.
Well, we always said that in regards to Frank stepping out of a Brentford, akin to Potter stepping out of a Brighton. Like, are they...
The system is the thing, right? Not the manager.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how Brentford go this season with massive upheaval, losing Mbeumo, sound like they might lose Visser, they've lost Norgard. Like, will they just carry on and do what Brighton have done?
Yeah.
You know? And then you'll know more about...
I think that Brentford have had. I mean, it's a significant change. Right? It's everything from their head of medical to their sports science to all the coaching staff, more or less, apart from Keith Andrews, who's become the manager. They've lost all of their goals. They're probably going to lose all of their goals from last season, pretty much, and Norgard. And people are after Damsgaard, and people are after Norgard as well. So it's really it's like asset stripping the entire team, and for them to if they do come back from that will be amazing. I hope so, because I don't want to feel complicit in destroying them as a football club by taking their entire management team. But
yeah,
it's weird, right? But it just depends a lot on. We'll probably do a preview for the season, right, before the Burnley game, in terms of what to expect from the other teams, because I think Brentford might have it hard this season because Sunderland look like they've spent a lot of money bolstering their squad, and if it really pull it off, then they're making the real statement of intent there to stay up, right? And then you've got Leeds.
Well, look, Sunderland. We'll cover this in more detail, as you said, but Sunderland have spent some big money. I'm surprised Jordan Henderson didn't go back there, to be honest, but he's gone to Brentford. I was really shocked by that.
Burnley as well, of course, have spent money as well.
Yep.
So, it could be a tough season for a few of the habitual underachievers, including us. Let's hope that we don't find ourselves in a similar position to last season, because
yeah,
I don't want to go there.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few loanees, as we talked about. Devine, Lancashire, Minhook, Onley, Phillips, Iris Hall, George Abbott, Warrington, Mikey Moore hasn't played for Rangers yet. And then Velez back to Argentina. I just don't get that one. I don't know whether he's got no future, because would you take a punt on someone like that over a Richarlison? Maybe you would. Any to call out for you, Graham? We touched on it. Jamie Donnelly. We could have done with him.
So Ajay has scored quite a number of goals for them already. I don't know if it was pre-season matches, but he scored like 3 in his first 4 games, or he had a really good start with them.
He scored in Europe, didn't he, for us?
Yes.
On his debut.
Yeah. He looks really bright. Who else? Youngmin Hook, I think he came on. Most of them seem to come on as subs rather than start matches. Donnelly, I think, as I said earlier, came on for Stoke and assisted their 3rd goal. It was a really good assist as well. It was a nice little cut back inside the box for the striker to run onto. That was cool. And I will keep you posted on Tyrese Hall. He's at Notts County, obviously. I think Thomas said...
For Hugh, Thomas lives in Nottingham, Hugh, so that's Graham's son. And he keeps an eye on any loanees that we've got up there.
They lost, and he said his friend James said they stunk the place out. They were awful, Notts County. So could be setting themselves up for a difficult season, but I hope Tyrese Hall gets plenty of game time there. I think he's one of the standout youth products from the academy. He's a decent player. So I hope he gets plenty of game time. And then George Abbott, again, he come off the back of a very good loan last season at Notts County. He's at Wickham. So yeah, I hope all of them fare well on their loans. Dorrington's back in Aberdeen. Don't think he's played much. And then Mikey Moore's the interesting one, right? So as I said before, he hasn't played yet. He signed his new Tottenham contract today. His extension on his Tottenham contract.
Because he's 18, So.
Yeah. And that also is what they've been waiting for at Rangers. Don't think officially we could do the transfer, because it's an international transfer, until he was 18.
Right.
Which is
so funny.
I'm not sure why it's the case, because it's not really I suppose it's between nations rather than international.
Well, he's going from a English FA to a Scottish FA, I suppose, run.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it's not like he's going to the EU or coming from the EU. It's the same passport as someone who lives in Glasgow, right?
Yeah. Just a slightly different accent.
Yeah, I'm optimistic for him. I hope he really gets plenty of game time. I think he needs that. I think he needs consistent game time for a team, and I hope he gets it up there. And and he's got the opportunity for European football as well, which will be really good for him.
Well, absolutely.
It's more European football.
So, Hugh, before we wrap things up, to put you on the spot somewhat, we've covered off like Thomas Frank being what we think he can be, and some light on expectations of us all. We'll do a full pre-season one, a full preview of the season, Graeme. But Hugh, what's an overwhelming success for you, mate, under this new regime? The players that we might or might not get in. I mean, and this assumes that Thomas Frank keeps his job until the end of the season. As you would reflect on that having happened, what's a success for you as a Tottenham fan?
Success for me, cup run, at least semi-finals in either of them. Or
League Cup, FA Cup.
Yeah, and battling for a Champions League spot. That one I think would be a very successful transition year, which is, again, we're back into it's another transitional season where that would be a very good, I think, transitional season would be a deep cup run, if not an outright win, and competing for the Champions League spots.
Yeah, it's exciting in terms of like what is ahead, because I keep forgetting that we do have Champions League football. It's easy to forget that. Oh shit, we do, yeah. So that's exciting for the club to have that back. I just hope we don't shit the bed in it. I hope we're actually competitive and decent.
Yeah.
We'll be pretty well seeded. That's the only good thing, right? So we should. I think we'll be probably in pool 2. So when they do the draw, there'll be one decent team. Well, there aren't any bad teams, but relatively speaking, one of the harder leagues, and then any 2 or 3 from the others. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
My worry is, and I've got to be honest at the moment, I think my worry was, I think I said this at the beginning of last season, right? We did good business in the summer last season. We bought good players, but we brought in 5 players and let 11 go. So the squad was threadbare last season, but we started the season with a relatively fit squad, and we could play pretty much our first choice players at the beginning of last season. We are starting this season currently without that, and I don't think that the squad's that much deeper than it was last season. Maybe a little bit. So in some areas, like centre backs, we got Dragusin out now, but at least we got Danso.
Danso there, but then we've got
Danso is an upgrade in terms of a centre back. In the wing positions, we've got better cover. I still think we've got substandard 6 and 8s apart from Polinia. I don't think any of them have really been good enough. We don't have a 10. And I don't think Charleston. I don't want to start the season with Richarlison as our only fit striker, because as he's proven, his legs are made out of biscuits, and he will not. If we get 3 games in a row out of him, we should have a party.
Well, this is Richarlison's, for me, his best attribute is what he did in the Europa League final. He just ran and ran and ran. And he will do that for you. He will run the channels. He will make it really hard for the opposition. He will hustle. He will hassle. It'd be a nightmare to play against. Not because he's particularly good, just because he doesn't stop. Like when he's fit, he just doesn't stop. He's relenting. But we don't need that. We need someone to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
You know?
I had this conversation with my Brazilian friend, Alex, who's a subscriber and a listener. Hello, Alex. And I told him that he's the least Brazilian footballer I've ever seen. Like he's like a
Totally. Yeah, he reminds me of something out of like that Leeds team under Don Revie.
Yeah, no, I don't understand how, with that entire Brazilian gene pool, he seems to have swerved it all.
Yeah.
There must have been some League Two number 9 centre forward that fathered him. Like, I don't know. He's just not. I mean, even with Solanke, right? I've seen quite a lot of criticism of him for last season, but he still scored 16 goals and got like 8 assists in all competitions. That's not a bad return for a first season, given he got very poor service. Like any game where he had Son on one side and Brennan Johnson on the other side, he wasn't getting much of the ball. And he ran around a lot. Yeah. It seems to be our the list of attributes that we're looking for in players seems to start with runs about a lot. Yeah, it's the old Pavlyuchenko, Harry Redknapp.
I'm not concerned.
Just get out there and run around a bit.
I think Solanke, if he's fully fit, of course, I think he's fine for us. I'm excited to see him this season actually in a Frank team.
Yeah, it would surprise
hopefully
me
with players that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Hugh.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that it would surprise me that people would be that down on him after that season, given the totality of everything that was going on around the team then. And he literally got no service.
Yeah, I think
but
the problem
somehow he still scored 16 goals.
I think the problem with him is that however good he is, he's not Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And he had the misfortune of being the guy that came in directly after Harry Kane leaves. So I think that people are hard on him because of that, I think. Which I don't, it's not fair on him. And I always felt
David Moyes following Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, so a bit like that. But I always felt with Kane though that it would go full Billy Bean, that we'd have to create him in the aggregate. Right, yeah. So we were never going to replace Harry Kane with one player. I think what the replacement for Harry Kane was supposed to be was Maddison and Solanke, but you need both of them to be playing well and together in the same team often for that to really work, and that didn't really work out for us last season. And looks like it won't do this season either with no Maddison, probably for most of the season, if not all of it.
No, absolutely. Well, look, before we close out, I have one special message. So he's as good as my nephew. I got a message from my cousin 2 days ago saying, I woke up to this message saying, Isaac has subscribed to your podcast. He absolutely loves it. And Isaac, you'll be listening to this. I was a bit confused by that because you're an Arsenal fan. And I'll take you, mate. We welcome anyone. But if you want to make the
conversion therapy.
Yeah, if you want to make the pivot to the team that wins European trophies, it's absolutely fine, mate. Just give me a message. We can get you on as a guest. Maybe that can be the beginning step for you in your. I think what the same age as Iris saying, your 12 to 13 years of life. Maybe it's time to make that step. But we welcome any listeners. I'm glad to hear you're tuning in, mate. But as your dad might say, you're being a bad boy if you're listening to a Tottenham podcast and you're an Arsenal fan. So I wanted to get that one in before we wrapped up. I didn't have anything else. Hugh, do you have anything to add, mate? It's been great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Hugh.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. Great talking to you guys.
Yeah, pleasure.
We'll see if we can resolve the video issues next time as well.
Yeah, mainly for our viewers, the audio's been fine, but our viewers, you haven't been able to see as much as you as we would like. There was a few connection and connectivity issues, but as always from me, I'll close us out. But then, Graeme, if you've got anything more to add, feel free. But come on, you Spurs.
Thanks to everyone who's listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And please click the notifications button so you know when the next episode's coming out. And to close us out, come on, you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day.